Hello Basil, hello Shreya. Welcome to BSP's Meet the Gsecs. It's our annual feature wherein we ask the Gsecs of various boards to come in and we interview them. We ask them about their work which they are doing in their boards, and we ask all sorts of fun questions to them. And yeah, it's all in all, it's a very fulfilling experience for them as for us. So yeah, would you mind giving a brief introduction of yourself, like just for the sake of the readers?
Shreya can go first.
So, hi everyone, I'm Shreya. I'm currently in my fourth year in mathematics and computing. I am the general secretary of BSP.
Hi, so my name is Basil. I'm the Deputy General Secretary of BSP. I'm also a final year student from the textile department. Yeah,
Cool. Would you guys mind adding a fun fact to that about yourselves?
um,
So, one fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact about myself would be I have trouble sleeping. So, I think a normal college student sleeps for like 5 hours probably every day. But the issue with me is that even if I get 10 hours to sleep, I'll still sleep for 5 hours.
That's
I
low-key
mean,
insomniac.
is it like the IIT mean around 2, 3? I don't
Yeah,
know.
probably yes. Like the fact that the
You're
point
doing better. You're still doing better.
I'm
Good
doing
company.
better, but then it remain the same
Ah.
across the board. Like even if I get more time.
Fun fact about me. So, fun fact about me. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but it's a big deal that what happened was like one time. I have this Instagram page where I make comics, and this one time I made this comic, and it sort of like blew up to some extent. So that was like my first encounter with how things like socially propagate, and it was like all of a sudden I went and I looked at the stats and it's like, whoa, 10,000 people have already viewed your posts. And I got a bit scared at that point. I was like, dude, what is happening? Yeah, that was like a good fun experience.
Right. Okay, so yeah, I'll quickly move on to my next question. So, yeah. So, what would you guys say to sum up your journey so far at ITD? Like, how did you end up at BSP? What was your experience for the first 3 years at ITD? And now that you're finally in your fourth year, so how all this journey culminated for you guys?
I'd say it was a huge learning curve. So I think one of the myths that you hear a lot about IITs is that study for JEE, and then when you go into college and you get into college, everything's going to be chill, right? While it is true to some extent, where you have some sort of baseline that you do expect once you graduate from college, it's still a huge learning curve when you get in here. And honestly, that was really fun to have, where you get this sort of platform to explore so many new things. Because even now, if I go back to school, there are certain stereotypes against IITians. So a couple of my teachers have even asked me, do people even do something apart from studying over there, which is very correct of them.
Wow.
But yes, then I have to like list activities for them. That yes, all of this is there. Okay, so yeah,
Clearly they haven't met Shreya yet.
they know me, but I don't know what's wrong with them. But yeah, so I think this is one thing that there are so many things to explore, right? And it's such a steep learning curve. But I've honestly enjoyed my time here, and I've enjoyed learning new things, which I think you can understand from the amount of POs I've picked up in my college life. But yeah, it's been a fun experience, yes. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with Shreya. For me, like the journey was like a roller coaster, to be very honest. First year, I was away from family. I had to settle into a new place. A typical fresher who was into everything and nothing at all, and well, study suffered. Then second year happened. Realized that study is more important, so got there. Then BSP mein I got into, which was like I would say it was like a good experience. Fortunate incident that I got in. Met a bunch of really amazing seniors. Really recommend you guys to like make good friends, reach out to a lot of people. That really enhances the entire experience. Yeah, third year was like challenging. So for me, academically, the whole thing, like the journey has been exciting as well as challenging. So it was always like an uphill climb for like that point grade for some X purpose. But overall, as like I look back for 3 years, it has been like an incredibly rewarding and yeah, just enriching experience.
I think I'm probably going to have withdrawal after graduating from college because I don't think I'm going to be like this busy or my life's going to be this happening once you probably enter like the corporate sector or something. And I mean, you'll still be busy per se, but not this kind of busy,
Yeah.
like doing so many different things.
You won't be busy for yourself. Then.
Yeah.
So IT does really provide you that spike in your life. Yeah.
It allows you to like test your limits. Like
Exactly.
bro, I can like work for 22 hours and still like make it to the next lecture. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
right. I mean, totally. Like we just get so open to all of my experiences. I can still remember that. Like while I was preparing for JEE, all of my sleep schedule and stuff was pretty much sorted. And as soon as I enter into this place of academia, the first thing I remember is me sleeping at 3 a.m. in the morning and yeah, stuff like that. So college does certainly provide you.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, anyways, a much more tailored question towards BSP. So, there were a lot of different opportunities, clubs, and boards that we were exposed to in our first year. So, what propelled you towards BSP in particular, and like, what was so special about this board that you've been attached to it for the past 2 or 3 years?
So I had actually been quite active in my school's editorial board before coming here, and this is interestingly my second time leading a media body. In my school we had like a school NUN that you used to have, so you had the international press. So I led that also as a ninth grader, with like. And I had to lead 11th graders in that, so that was an interesting experience for me. But yeah, I mean, I think being actively engaged in the schools like editorial board sort of automatically generated that sort of curiosity when I entered college, right? And I mean, I was already curious about BSP, and then we received this PDF of Inception in our mails, and I remember going through the entire magazine and just marveling at everything essentially, at how things were written in the magazine, how comprehensive the different sorts of like information and the articles were in the magazine, and about how well the magazine was designed in general, right? And I remember really wanting to be a part of such a book. And then obviously what happened was I participated in Gazettel as a fresher, right? And I really enjoyed that. I mean, we had a very last minute entry, and I was actually in Sarah's team, Sarah Roshan, who was the ex last BSP General Secretary. Right, so that was a very fun experience. And after that, I really decided that yes, I do want to, try out for the board, because I really like the kind of content that they're putting out and the kind of community that they have. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think I mean you pretty much covered a lot of the reasons for me as well. I think one thing that really sticks out for BSP is the community and the sort of peers that you get access to, and I think that is something that I have also constantly validated by external as well as internal observers. So they always come up to me, they're like, hey, BSP is like so good, you have people, and there's always like a good work culture happening, and people are growing, not just working. And I think that is something which I think makes and sets BSP apart, and that was like something which I was drawn to personally. Yeah, and as far as personal motivations are concerned, I used to write a lot on my blog, and that sort of just filtered in, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead with this. So,
That's really interesting. Actually, I guess Shreya's experience is pretty much valid for me as well, because I can remember that Inception left me in grade awe when I like glanced through all those designs and all those lingos, like
You
how
guys were
guys-
lucky because you got like a physical
Physical
copy of
copy, I know.
We are the COVID batch guys. So we did not
I mean,
got
I
it.
didn't
We never
know
had.
we were supposed to get physical copies. And then I was I felt cheated when I realized that, you know, we would have gotten physical copies.
You know what? We
of
should
it.
like just get printed
You know, right? But,
for ourselves.
so, yeah.
This doesn't go on camera.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so anyways, moving on to the next question. So far, what has been the most memorable incident in your time for the time you have been in BSP?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very clear marked out incident that I can narrate. Namely, the time when we made to the front page of the Hindu magazine, Hindu newspaper, for not all the right reasons. And I think I'll like probably go into some context before I like narrate the story. So what happened was essentially we had this we have Inquirer, which is the biannual journalistic magazine, and the topic that I chose as the chief editor was prevalence of caste-based discrimination on campus, and it was a sensitive topic, and I mean rightly so. And so we had like a 2-month-long preparatory phase where we reached out to experts, we reached out to members from the community anonymously and try to get their lived experiences, and based on all that material and also going through previous literature, we made like this survey which was supposed to it was like a fairly long survey, right? Like 9 sections and all, and it was made by undergrads. So we put this out, and the next day we have like clashes coming in from all sorts of for example, the SCSC cell was like a primary center, and then we had to like go into a conversation with them. Somebody leaked that information out to outside observers. The next day, I know I'm walking to my hostel, and somebody calls me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm XYZ journalist from the Hindu. I want to talk about." And then when I'm like reaching the mess, there's another call which is like, "Yeah, I'm XYZ journalist from Indian Express. Can I talk to you?" And so I essentially panicked. I was like this very innocent little child who had this dream, right? and all of a sudden, I'm in the news. Damn, and doesn't look good. It's not like. It's not a good news, it seems. So yeah, that was like a fun experience that really stood out to me. That the team was really behind my back. Everybody was supporting me, from the president, from the faculty coordinator, everybody. But it was like just a fun experience to navigate through a social social conflict of interest, right? And to try to like resolve that.
I remember Sarah's statement being in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Like the general secretary of BSP
Yeah.
says so and so. It was.
It
was unexpected, actually.
Also the crazy thing. I mean, we were expecting some kind of clash, but not to that.
No, but we
level.
weren't expecting it to like go to the
Yeah.
newspaper.
I still have like the newspaper with me, boys. If you want, just for like memories. But yeah, it was a fun experience. Yeah.
So that's totally a great souvenir to have.
Sorry?
That's totally a great souvenir to have.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Shreya, please.
I mean, for me, I would say there are multiple different, moments, because like having spent so much time in BSP, I don't think I can pinpoint a single moment as being, oh, okay, this was more memorable than the others.
Look,
Right?
could you recount any vivid moment like as such?
So I think I'd say it was the little moments that were nice, like these little sort of victories, or these vibey sessions that I had, right? So like for example, I think on one of the days of Literati, right, we were right before the last day of Literati, right, the night before that, we were basically sitting and working on designing posters only. Right, and so it was like it was me, it was Tanya, so who was the creator CDM, and then there were 2 or 3 other ACHEDs whom we had called, okay, and we were working on the same poster again and again. And we were just so into it. We kept doing the same design over and over again. We made like 10 different designs of the same thing. Okay, because we were just having fun at that point. We weren't even designing for like the post itself.
Noted.
Okay, so it was little moments like those, or even when in our chief ed tenure, when Harshad's the other design chief ed, when we had this session with the techies, where we basically asked them to sort of pull up their socks to not ghost us essentially, and then they ended up not ghosting us for the next few projects. That was like a small sense of victory that okay, we can do this, we succeeded. So yeah, I mean little moments like those, I would say.
Yeah, these might be really fulfilling because even I am looking forward to having a lot of memories in BSP. So yeah, I guess we can move on to the next question. So yeah, it might be a little specific, but to you, Shreya. Talking about the media vertical, like it's been in talk for the past some months because this year you have revamped the media vertical and there's much traction around it. So yeah, any particular reason why you guys headed on to this and like what did you have in mind while rolling out this and revamping this whole thing? How do you think it holds a lot of significance being a part of BSP?
Okay, so I mean, I think the media vertical was something that we started only last year. So last year was the pilot year for the media vertical, which is why we were still sort of exploring what could be done with the vertical in general. We were trying to make sure we weren't stepping on, other bodies' toes basically. We weren't sort of taking work from them or something. So, last year because of that, it took some time to establish that sort of balance to find our place. Right? I think this year there has been a little more clarity in that aspect that what all can the media vertical do, and I think apart from that definitely it's the kind of people that media vertical has this year, right? Because I think we definitely do have much more motivated people, much more passionate people, right? Shout out to Abhinav, our media chief ed, who's sitting right there behind the camera. But yeah, I think the people definitely played a huge role because ultimately it boils down to the initiative that each vertical takes, right? And I think apart from that, what also played the role was played a huge role was 1 year of that experience where the media vertical is still there. It's there in the back of our minds, and we're trying to see okay, this is something that we could. Include the media vertical in. So, for example, this year what we did was along with Inception, we also rolled out reels where we had reels as well as YouTube videos where we had inputs from seniors. So those are different ways in which we tried to sort of involve the media vertical in things that it hasn't been involved in previous years. So I think that has helped because one sort of problem that we saw in last year was that it wasn't involved in a lot of projects that BSP was doing. It wasn't directly involved in a lot of our flagship projects. So because of that, maybe people got a little rusty or they started prioritizing something else a little more over, BSP. So I think those are some things. And then we do have a lot of other things planned for the media vertical. I think you should wait and watch.
Media techies will be busy this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any inputs on this?
I think I agree with this.
Okay, so the next question is to you, Basil.
Yeah.
So talking about the PG engagement in BSP in general, how do you plan to tackle this? There's in general a lack of PG engagement across groups. So, but talking about the topic like journalism and considering the fact that we even have PhD students and PG students from humanities department who would be willing to give their inputs and devote their time to do it.
Right.
So, what are you guys planning to facilitate their input?
Yeah, so you're asking all the hard questions to me. Alright, so that's actually a very good question, and we have given a lot of thoughts on it. So one interesting thing I want to first recount before I answer your question is so there was this HUL course TA who reached out to us, and she wanted to get an opinion article published through the BSP channel. And one thing, and so we facilitated that process, and we got the opinion article eventually published. She was part of the women's football team at our campus, and she had wonderful things to say about her experiences. and I think it was like a net positive for the community as well. In that conversation, I realized that the PG community is very much, involved or like want to get involved in activities like on-campus journalism and on-campus media content creation, but they do not have the venue. The platform. So, I think you're probably aware of our PG Freshers magazine Genesis, which is something which we are revamping this time as well. And one thing which, you should look out for Genesis, which is like the introductory PG Freshers magazine, just like Inception, which is like, which has a very good reception among the UG freshers. So, and I think one thing which does not work out for the PG is the fact that the timelines are a little bit different from the usual timelines. So in BSP, we want to be cognizant of that fact and acknowledge it, so that at the end of the day, we have representation from all the communities, not just the undergrads, in the board. And I think that has been a positive influence for the board in terms of both learning as well as output. So
Okay.
I think one thing I would like to add to that is that even the kind of content that we put out. So like what happened was recently a PhD student whom I was talking to, right? I told them I was in BSP and I was like, have you heard of the board? Just to be sure. So he was like, yeah, I got to know about it recently. I recently went through your Insta page. So I was like, okay, like what made you go through it? So he said, there was this op-ed that we had published on the flooding, right? So he was like, that was being circulated in all the PG groups. So that was being circulated so widely because they could resonate with it, right? So even the kind of content that we put out, and we're putting out stuff that they are also able to relate to, they're able to share. That's it.
Okay, so since we were talking about op-eds, I had a question about that to you, Basil.
yeah, sure.
So, since opinion articles play a really influential role in conveying a very essential happening in the campus or the world in general, so what do you think was the most impactful opinion article you have come across in your BSP?
Ooh, that's a difficult one to answer. So you want to know what I think has been an impactful opinion article? It's actually a tough one. So I think there was the second volume, which was written last year by one of the journals. It was essentially the idea of how students here prioritize. They essentially prioritize what the seniors tell them to follow or to go towards. And how that has led to this perverse culture of PORs and things like that. You should definitely check out the opinion article itself, but it was really well written. It was written from the point of view of someone and their visceral stream of consciousness, and you can follow it through. In that case, and I remember it was very well received as well by the community. So I think that would be one thing.
Yeah, right. Even I got across that article in my first year, and I was like, why is everyone talking about POs? What the hell is even POs?
Right.
So I came across that article. I knew that senior, he was Rohil. So I really appreciated that article. I met him personally, and I was just pretty much.
In general, an interesting person to talk to, but not always.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you get it? Sorry.
So, anyways, that was for you, Rohil. So.
Right.
Moving on to the next question about Literati, which is BSP's annual Literary and Arts Fest. So, what do you think would be the expected footfall for Literati this year? And Yeah, if you could recount your one favorite memory from last year's Literati, what would it be?
Oh.
So when it comes to football, I would say I would not make any claims because I don't want to jinx it, because I feel that whatever claim I make, the football is going to be better than that.
Oh.
So I don't want to limit BSP in that sense, right? Which is why no comments on the football.
Totally makes sense.
Diplomatic.
No, I don't want to limit
Yeah,
literati.
yeah,
The scope
absolutely.
literati can attract so many people. I don't want to jinx it so soon. So yes. And the second question was about
Yeah, your favorite memory pertaining to Literati.
favorite memory pertaining to literati.
I want this from you as well, Basil.
Yeah.
I mean, I technically already told you one of
So
my
many
favorite.
memories.
Memories. That
Memories.
was pretty much linked to Literati. But
Yeah.
like during the fest, like ongoing activities.
During the fest, ongoing activities. I mean, interesting. Favorite memory. One interesting memory was I had to go and physically alter the standees
Oh my god.
because the keynote speaker's name was wrong or something. So I remember going around like me and Tanya and again one or two more rackets, all four of us going around to each of the standees and altering the name with the marker, and I was the one doing it. The handwriting should be fine.
So guys, this is like Pokemon Go but Literati edition.
Exactly.
Nice, good stuff.
So yes. And that was, I think, the day before the keynote speaker was supposed to speak. So
Yeah, I remember there were so many
Edits.
venue changes at the last minute as well.
Yeah.
We had to transfer people from Sam Hall to
That's
LH. Oh. Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the memories because I was one of the persons who was coordinating the guest lectures, and just to manage group of 10 people who you have invited from outside IIT to come to IIT and interact with the students or give a talk, it puts an immense amount of responsibility on your shoulders because you have to ensure that these people have a good time, and then you have to also manage your team who would be working around. You have to communicate properly with the other verticals, and that whole experience sort of colluded into this mass of me essentially getting no sleep at all for the 3 days, but I did manage to get some sleep. That I think that is always the case with any fest, any college fest. But yeah, that was one of the experiences. I remember the second day we got into this very room, and all the CTMs were there, and we were discussing what to do with the third pro night, right? Because we invited a Padma Bhushan awardee, and we were discussing should we cancel it, and things were going crazy. Where do we get the ticking booking system from? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll whip up one very quickly. I took my laptop and I plugged in some music, and I coded for 3 till 3 a.m. in the morning until my head started giving up. So, and by the time we had a decently working ticket booking system, so essentially that was one hell of an experience, right? To write a ticket booking system one day before a fest, because otherwise it would be a crowd. So really consequential, socially responsible role there. One of the memories which I'll definitely cherish from the party.
Yeah, I guess Literati was a pretty fun experience for me as well.
Fun or funny?
very good.
So yeah, moving on to my next question. Where do you see BSP in 5 years?
So, I mean, this question, no one asked me this question in the Gsecs interview either, but okay. In the next 5 years, so I think BSP still has a long way to go as a media body, right? I think we've come a long way, but in terms of the kind of content that we can cover and the different ways in which we can cover the same sort of content, I think that is something that we can work on a little more. I think going forward in the future, I do expect, I'm actually pretty excited to see what the media vertical does in the next few years, right? I do expect more sorts of, more formats like maybe podcasts or comic strips coming into the into the body of work that BSP produces, right? And I also do expect us to cover slightly more sensitive topics and go a little deeper into them. Though I'm not sure how feasible that would be, considering all of us as students have our own time constraints and all. But yes, that would be something that I do love. I would love to see in the future, right? And I think apart from that, even more collaborations with other media bodies would be something I would be looking forward to for BSP in the future.
Yeah, I guess that's really insightful, and I hope that works out. And yeah, so yeah, a particular question for Basil.
Yeah.
Would you continue making comics for BSP after you leave the college?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So that's almost like a no-brainer for me. Making comics has been like a good personal experience in terms of trying to understand and really express a particular thought or emotion. So that's like part of the storyteller in me, and I only expect it to like get better through the years. So
Who was that one particular senior in BSP who inspired you the most through his impactful work and motivated you to continue your work at BSP?
Wow, this is such a hard question because everyone brought their own quality and their own ideas to the table, and they all sort of have shaped and structured my own thoughts on what BSP is and what BSP ought to be. Not taking any names, obviously.
I mean, we can like restructure it to your go-to person at BSP.
Right. So yeah, I mean the previous general secretary and deputy general secretary, both of them were very supportive, and working with them, especially through the Inquirer backlash, where they ensure that a lot of the flake and the outburst in the community does not reach me. I was like pretty much shielded from all that. Although they took the burden of communicating with everybody and making sure I am feeling okay. So that was like really amazing on their part. And just in general, I think both Sarah and Nikhil have been go-to people in terms of anything that I want to ask them. Bounce new ideas or take feedback on a current project. They were also very ruthless and brutal in their feedback. And I think that's a very good quality to have when you're like leading a board which is a media body. So I think both of them have been people who have helped me shape my outlook basically.
Same question. So I think I would go with Basil here again. Sarah was my design chief editor as well. Before that also, I think I worked under her for Gazettel as well, for my first Gazettel. So, I think she's been this sort of senior I always went to in BSP, right? And I think I really did look up to, again, one of those qualities where she wouldn't let the heat get to us. In anything, I mean, anything that BSP was sort of maybe scolded for, scolded for, she wouldn't let us, get the same sort of flack. And I think that is something that I also take from, that I also try to do with my team. So, yeah.
So, yeah, to end it on a high, do you guys have any piece of advice which you'd like to give the viewers, the aspiring journalists, chief editors, and students looking up to BSP in general?
So advice as in how to get inside the board? How to get into the board? Or
Let's not
Okay, let's
break
break it.
another G.
As in what they can expect from BSP and what they can expect by getting into BSP.
So I think what they can expect from BSP is this platform where they can express themselves, and this sort of community where they can be themselves, and then they can find other like-minded individuals whom they can hang out with, discuss certain things with, and just have fun with in general. I think in before that, like, some general advice I would like to give students here would be just enjoy the time in college that you have, right? And I think as a journalist, as a media techie, as a design techie, it's always very important to be very observant of what's happening around you. So to be in the moment and experience everything to the fullest. So yeah, I think that's a common quality that has to be there, that sort of curiosity and that will to express how you're feeling. And yeah, I think that's what my tip would be.
That's actually a very good advice, and I will slightly twist your question into answering what advice I have for people watching this who may not want to get into BSP. And I think the way I see BSP is that it is a board which thrives through community feedback and through our readership and viewership. So, and as much as the group of 70 or 100ish spend a lot of time and love doing what we do in bringing content to the readers and viewers, equally responsible, or equally like an equal part of the entire experience are the readers, like, who are on the other side of the screen and they read up our content. And I think it's not an advice per se, but it's something which I think goes both hand in hand, and something which I want to point out is that it would be really interesting if the readership itself gets more involved with the inner workings, or the inner cult of BSP, so to say, right? And we really don't want it to be a place where the people inside BSP, the people outside. We really want to reduce the glass door, the glass wall between these two communities, right? And so essentially, BSP at the end of the day is a student-run media body, and it is for the students. So, and it really kicks out when the community gets involved, and we have everybody coming in and trying to talk us through issues, sharing vivid experiences, or just wanting to write poetry. And I think BSP caters to all that and much more. And really, I think once we get to that phase, I think that's what we were talking about when we were talking about BSP in the next 5 years. I think that's when we will really take off. We will not be constrained to an editorial board of 10 people, but an editorial board of 50 with more people just coming in and pitching in on a project basis, things like that. So really exciting times, and yeah, let's see how it goes.
Cool, that was really insightful. So I guess that calls for an interview. It was lovely interviewing you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you
Rishabh, for
so
being
much
an amazing
for
interviewer.
having us.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So just for clarification, by scolding we really mean feedback.
Feedback.
Yeah, we don't scold people in BSP. So it's a very healthy work environment. If you guys are watching this, you should definitely consider applying.
There's no scolding involved. None at all.
I'm so good at
I
that.
can't do. Okay, so the penultimate question.
Oh, by the way, if you guys don't know, my Instagram page is @Basil with a period after Basil. So do follow, guys. Okay.
Sure. नहीं actually follow me on the Op-Eds.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, the penultimate question.